Hello and welcome to Piano with Georgia. I'm Georgia, and in today's video, we're going to talk about key signatures, the scales they relate to, and how to put the knowledge into practice. So hop on your bench and let's get started. And now just a quick plug for those of you who prefer paper to a screen. This is the book where I've been drawing all of our examples from. It's a wonderful beginner piano book. You can have your own paper copy, courtesy of the link that I will include in the description. And you can have your own free copy, courtesy of IMSLP, which will also be linked in the description. I'd like to thank my subscriber who requested a video about key signatures. I appreciate your request and idea. There are many excellent videos out here on YouTube about this topic, but every teacher has their own way of explaining, so here's mine. I'm going to try to keep things as practically related to your playing as possible. What is a key signature? A key signature is the place on the music where a composer communicates what sharps or flats they will be using everywhere in the song you're about to learn. It's a little summary spot, so a composer doesn't have to write in a sharp or flat that is going to be used virtually all the time throughout the song. The key signature is located between the clefs and the time signature at the beginning of every song. Let's look at one. Here are our clefs, and here is our time signature, and right in between, voila, the key signature. In classical music, the key signature will also be written after the clefs on every single line of the song. This is helpful, as sometimes composers will change the key signature in the middle of a song. Let's see what that one would look like. Here's an example of a piece that starts with 3 sharps here at the beginning, continues on the second line with 3 sharps, but in the middle, one of the sharps is canceled. On the next line, you're going to see there are now only 2 sharps. Your eyes can simply glance at the beginning of any line and have a reminder of what sharps or flats you will be using. However, there are some lead sheets out there that will give the key signature at the beginning of the song and then not include it unless there's a change. So you would continue the same key signature even though there's nothing on these lines. What does the key signature tell you? I like to think of the key signature as the musical version of an artist's color palette. It can help your hands and eyes have a sense of the keys you will be using in the song before you even start to play. If all the sharps and flats were written beside the notes in the music every time we were supposed to play one, we wouldn't have that color palette of notes in our minds before we start playing. They would all feel like isolated incidents instead of part of a bigger picture. Remembering the feel of playing white keys is pretty easy. However, when composers start using black keys, it can become more challenging to anticipate the topography that your hands will be dealing with. The key signature is what communicates the pattern of notes we will use. These patterns of notes are usually referred to as scales. There are different types of scales that give our ears different patterns of sound. Some of you have undoubtedly heard the term modes. A mode is a broader word for the types of scales we can experience. For the purpose of this video, we are going to discuss the most commonly used modes, known as the major and minor scales. Now comes the part where many people get stuck. How do we know how to connect a key signature with the scale that uses the same notes? Well, if you've always wondered why so many piano teachers insist that scales be practiced, this is one of the reasons why. First, know this. A specific number of sharps or flats in your key signature will always relate to one specific major and one minor scale. For example, if there are no sharps or flats at all in the key signature, you can assume that your song is in either C major or A minor. Deciding which from these two choices has to do with which note feels like home. Let's stop to listen to the difference in sound between major and minor scales. C major, and then A minor. The major scale tends to sound a bit happy, while the minor scale tends to sound more melancholy to most listeners. Personally, I love that minor sound. Quick trick. If you look at the ending of a piece of music, most of the time, the lowest note in the bass is going to feel like arriving at home after your journey. So this note is usually also the first note of the scale that the whole song relates to. In this example, the lowest note at the end is a C. So opt for C major. Now let's look at another example. In this one, the lowest note at the end of the piece is an A. So you would opt for A minor. If you start on that note and play without skipping or repeating any alphabet letters from that note on the piano to the next spot of the same note, and you follow the sharps, flats in your key signature, congratulations, you've just created a 1-octave scale, your color palette. For example, let's go back to our piece we just looked at in A minor. It ends on an A, so I'm going to play from A to A without skipping any alphabet letters or skipping any notes. And those are the notes I'm going to be using in the song. Of course, many times composers like to leave us hanging a bit or be unexpected at the end of a song, so this little trick won't always work. Every time you look at any key signature, you can know absolutely that there is a major scale that uses that pattern of keys, and there is also a minor scale that uses that pattern of keys. The only difference is that the major and minor scales will start on different alphabet letters. Eventually, you will become so familiar with all the different scales and which sharps or which flats that they use that you will no longer have to do any calculations. Just like reading familiar vocabulary words, you look at it and you immediately know what it means. There are also connections between the different key signatures. I love these patterns and they help us understand what the composer might have been thinking and to anticipate what's coming up next in the piece, but let's save the circle of fifths and all of that for another video. I want this video to be more practical for you and less theoretical. So, where were we? We are trying to connect a key signature to a scale. Here's a couple of other sneaky tricks. If your key signature has sharps, look at the sharp that is farthest to the right. Name that sharp. In this case, D sharp. Now on the piano, go to your D sharp and go up a half step. This is the name of the major scale that matches your key signature. In this case, E major would be the major scale I would match to this song. If your key signature has flats, go to the flat that is the farthest to the right, but then back up one flat. Circle this guy. Now the name of the spot where this flat is located is the name of your major scale that matches this key signature. So in this case, I have an A flat. I would think this piece could be an A flat major. Be aware that since this letter is a flat in the key signature, the starting note will be a flat. The one time this trick doesn't work is with the key that has only one flat. There is no second to last flat to help us out. Well, you just kind of need to memorize. This is F major, now don't forget it. Let's go back to the piece we just looked at that we decided could be in E major. Now, even if this piece of music happens to end up in the minor version, even just by playing the major version, you are allowing your eyes and hands to see and feel the color palette of the song. So you could stop here, simply play the major scale that goes with your key signature several times, and you've got your color palette. Let's look at this one. So I have to identify the sharps that I have. I have a sharp where the middle is on the line for F, so I have F sharp. My next sharp is in the space for C, so I have C sharp. And then I have up here on the space G sharp. Pardon the handwriting, but this particular song is using the sharps F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and D sharp. Again, our trick, going to that last sharp, going up a half step, we've decided this is in the key of E major. So I'm going to start on E, and I'm going to end on E, and in between those two E's, I need to use my F sharp, my C sharp, my G sharp, and my D sharp. So what that would look like would be, then I play F sharp, here's G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, and finally I end on E. Finding the minor key once you know the major key is actually pretty easy though. Play your major scale, but stop on note number 6. This note is the starting note of your minor scale pattern that uses the same key signature. So if I were to go to C major, I could play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A minor would be the scale that I could play from A to A, and I would have an A minor scale. But wait, there's more. A major scale has one way to play it, the right way. However, minor scales are more interesting. There are 3 different types of minor scales. I'm not going to go into that today, but be aware that they exist. The version that you were just playing above is called the natural minor scale. The other 2 versions are the harmonic and melodic. They are just the same scale with a couple of consistent variations. If you see a lot of accidentals, like extra sharps, extra flats, or natural signs, you're probably in a minor key using one of the variations, and those are the alterations that you need to create that sound in this song. Here are the steps we will use every time. 1. Identify your key signature using our sneaky tricks. 2. Play the scales that match the piece. And 3. Decide if your song is major or minor. So let's practice a few together. In this particular song, we have 3 sharps. The sharp trick is to go to the sharp that is farthest to the right. Identify it, G sharp. Now look at the piano. Here's G sharp. Go up a half step. This piece, our major option is A major. Our other 2 sharps are an F sharp and a C sharp. We need those to know what notes to play. Let's go ahead and play from A to A on the piano using those 3 alternate notes, or black keys in this case. We will be using an F sharp, a C sharp, and a G sharp. Here we go. You've got A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and A. Notice no skipped alphabet letters, no repeated alphabet letters. And here's another example. Now we have 2 sharps. I'm going to go to the sharp that is farthest on the right. This is a C sharp. So now let's go to the piano, find C sharp. Here's our C sharp. Up half a step would be D. The major scale that's going to match this key signature is D major. So now if I play from D to D and I follow those sharps that are there, which are, let's see, that other guy is an F sharp. So if I use an F sharp and a C sharp, play from D to D, we have created the major scale that goes with this particular song. And now let's look at an example with flats. So a flat key signature, I kind of go all the way to the right here, and then I back up a flat. So that one right there is our special flat. This one I can identify is an A flat. So this is the name of our starting note of our major scale. Identifying the other flats, I can see we have a B flat, we have an E flat, of course our A flat, and a D flat. So what I need to do is start on the black key A flat. I'm going to end on the next black key A flat, and I'm going to play every single note in between, also using a B flat, an E flat, and a D flat, which that would look like this. A flat, B flat, normal C, then I've got D flat, E flat, F, G, and I'm going to end on A flat. One other thing that I'll throw out there are official fingerings for every scale. They are absolutely worth learning and practicing, as there are so many scale patterns in music. Practicing a scale is like practicing hundreds of songs in advance. Using the fingering every time trains your muscle memory to know the shape and feel of the different scales without even consciously thinking about it. However, before we start playing an 8-note pattern with only 5 fingers, you can get started with what we call tetrachords. This just means that you play 4 notes with your left hand and 4 notes with your right hand. Tetrachords can be really helpful for visually seeing all of the notes all at once. Let's set up a few. C major has no sharps or flats, so a left hand would play C, D, E, F. Right hand would play G, A, B, C. There's your scale. G major is the key signature that has 1 sharp, an F sharp to be precise. So if we wanted to set up our hands to play a G major scale, the left hand would take G, A, B, C. Right hand would play D, E, F sharp, and G, and sounds something like this. Now I'm using these fingers. If you're more comfortable, use your thumbs. It does not matter one bit with this particular style of fingering. Tetrachords also have one other little advantage. They can help you make the scales using the patterns of whole steps and half steps to figure out the key signature from the scale instead of the scale from the key signature. Each hand creates a pattern of whole step, half step, right hand, whole step, half step, and in between, there's a whole step. If you ever forget the pattern, use C major as a template to reverse engineer it. There was more on that back in my video about intervals, so please check that out. The next part of the video is going to be a reference for you to easily come back to again and again. In the description, I'll have this as a chapter you can easily jump to. I'm going to slowly play through all of the major and natural minor scales with the fingerings that have become standardized. I'll play hands together for the sake of time, but these should definitely be practiced hands separately. Notice, while I'm playing, all scale fingerings have a grouping of 3 notes and a grouping of 4 notes, and that pattern alternates to help you play really long scales. As I play through all the major and minor scales, I'm going to play a 1-octave version, then I'm also going to play a 2-octave version. Once you know how to transition from a 1-octave scale to a 2-octave scale, you can play as many octaves as you want to because it's just a repeating pattern. So, here we go. C major 1-octave scale. C major 2-octave scale. minor, 1 octave scale. A minor, 2 octave scale. G major, 1 octave scale. G major, 2 octave scale. E minor, 1 octave scale. E minor, 2 octave scale. D major, 1 octave scale. D major, 2 octave scale. B minor, 1 octave scale. Notice this left hand fingering, it's different. B minor, 2 octaves. A major, 1 octave scale. A major, 2 octave scale. F sharp minor, 1 octave scale. Notice we are starting on a black key. For the first time, these scale fingerings feel a little different, but they follow the same patterns. F sharp minor, 2 octave scale. E major, 1 octave scale. E major, 2 octave scale. C sharp minor, 1 octave scale. C sharp minor, 2 octave scale. B major, 1 octave scale. This is one of my favorites because we're going to use all the black keys. You don't have to remember which ones not to use. B major, 2-octave scale. G sharp minor, also known as A flat minor. You could kind of think of this one either way. Two-octave version of A flat minor, also known as G sharp minor. F sharp major, also sometimes called G flat major, 1-octave scale. F sharp major / G flat major, 2-octave scale. E flat minor, also known as D sharp minor, 1 octave. Two octaves. C sharp major, also known as D flat major, 1 octave scale. Two octaves. A sharp minor, also known as B flat minor, 1 octave scale. Two octaves. A flat major, 1 octave. A flat major, 2 octaves. F minor, 1 octave scale. F minor, 2 octave scale. E flat major, 1 octave scale. E flat major, 2 octave scale. minor, 1 octave scale. C minor, 2 octave scale. B flat major, 1 octave scale. B flat major, 2 octave scale. Notice with my right finger, I started that one with finger 3. You can also start it with finger 4 to be consistent with the next octaves. G minor, 1 octave scale. G minor, 2 octave scale. F major, 1 octave scale. F major, 2 octave scale. D minor, 1 octave scale. D minor, 2 octave scale. Thank you so much for spending your time and your energy with me. I know it's been a while since my last video. Teaching is my livelihood, and lately I've been swamped with demand. I'm working to schedule some specific time in my schedule to devote to you. You aren't forgotten. Please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. More videos coming soon.